Welcome back to the channel of truth, trust, and transparency. Today, we're reviewing another deal. This time, it's a little bit different. It's a deal that was sent to quite a young investor by a buyer's agency. And the instructions that came off the back of the deal were, hey, look, this is going to be a deal we need to move extremely quick on. We have a couple of hours we need to act. If we don't act, the agent has agreed that he's going to put it out to a whole bunch of other buyers agents tomorrow. So we need to hear back from you ASAP. Now, I get that we got to move quick, but just something doesn't sit right about these type of deals for me. And I would have thought, correct me if I'm wrong, but my thinking would be that buyer's agency would move extremely quick in terms of like a due diligence process, vet it from there, and then send it on to the client. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people, I hear the stories all the time, they kind of get that pressure put on them, that high pressure sales tactic to close in on the deal, whether or not they need to act quick, whether or not the buyer's agent or anyone like that is, just over it and wants to quickly secure something. I don't know. But what I do know is that this deal and plenty others that I have seen aren't the best. Leave a lot to the imagination. And I think if you watch through this and you'll see how just in a few quick minutes I can pick it apart and find some really obvious and really big red flags. It just leaves me uneasy that this big buyer's agency is meant to have a really great name, very reputable, but I mean, here's my issues that they're sending these deals onto their customers. Looks like they haven't even done due diligence. They're trying to pressure them in to make the purchase. And this particular person, after I went back to him with this, look, I had to remake it because I probably used a few too many expletives on the one that I sent to him. But, let's just dive into it and you guys will see why I think this one's pretty shit. Okay, so let's jump into it. The address for everyone playing at home is 6 Carlos Circuit, Shepparton. Now, first and foremost, I can tell that this isn't going to be the most prettiest suburb. Some very questionable type dwellings here. I can tell that maybe looks like public housing. So, first and foremost, it is at the end of a cul-de-sac, not ideal from a valuation perspective. Secondly, this is the house here. Secondly, I don't know if they checked this in Google Maps, but it has a 12-meter power pole in the middle of the front yard and is the only house that has it. So automatically, I'm not liking this particular property already. Strike one, strike two. Now, for those playing along at home as well, Shepparton was affected by floods in 2022. If you bring up the Shepparton flood maps, there's obviously, and it's sort of divided here, but there is a good side of Shepparton and there is a flooding side. So the flood levels of Shepparton this was a flood map done for when the flood hits 12.1. That particular flood did about 12.06, 12.08. So if I zoom in anyway to see what was inundated and or affected, and I go back to a Google Maps view, I'm going to get my bearings. Okay, so it's off this big movement, this big landscaped area here. And we have this row, and then it is the little hook. So if I go into here, and I go into this flood map, ladies and gentlemen, you will see these are the little rows, and that is the little hook. So that doesn't look good. I'll bring up the flood study of Shepparton. Already, I can see where this is. This is the house, number 6. So we have green, light blue, and aqua. Green, light blue, and aqua is up to, in a 1 in 100 flood, is up to 0.8 meters, 800 mil. 800 mil of flooding. Doesn't pass. What makes this particular area even worse, and I just wanted to test my superstitions here based on what I could see from the aerial. I'm opening up a great resource called population.id or atlas.id. You can go into the community profile, social atlas. Essentially, every or most councils in Australia share their data with these guys. They collate it together, informed decisions, and you're able to search and check stuff. Just a few overlays. Now, the one that I'm checking here is I always check the social housing or housing commission, because obviously the highest pockets of that are going to be, the most dangerous, are going to be the hardest to get tenants and people wanting to live there. It's going to be hard to attract good tenants there. Obviously, as property investors, once we make that purchase, your tenant and your property manager are the two people that will either make your life as a property investor hell or make it seem like it's easy and you don't know what all these people are complaining about. So obviously, when I see these sorts of, because of the price point of Shepparton, and I know it's, starting to get, you can still get into Shepparton for 400, I know I've got to be careful of that public housing. Lo and behold, though, three rungs there, that street, and this is Carlos Circuit. If I look at and I bring up the social housing details, there is a 34.3% concentration of social housing in this area. There's 210 households total, and 72 of those are social housing. Now, obviously, not all social housing is bad people. There is a bit of a stigma, but it is where a lot of that antisocial behaviour starts, crime rates, all that kind of stuff. So automatically, out of the whole of Shepparton, this particular property is in the highest concentration, 34%. We have 40% next door and 26% there. So it is in the highest concentration of social housing. And there is flood issues. If I'm looking in Shepparton just from two things on a map, I want to be on the eastern side of Wyndham Street. I want to be in this pocket here that doesn't flood, that doesn't have any social housing issues. You know what I mean? Look at here, 3.9%. There's 3 households, so much better. I want to be in those pockets. So for me, when I see this and I see a buyer's agent has sent this to someone, a young lad too, and is potentially trying to push him into this, people have hours to make a decision and they're not informed. Potentially this person hadn't looked at the flooding, hadn't looked at social housing. This is just 2 due diligence points that I've looked at that it has failed, and I would say no for that exact reason. It's these kinds of things is why I make content and why I try to show people the issues with buyers agents, especially the experienced ones. This was meant to be a reputable, decent sized buyers agency. I don't know what the strategy is here with this sort of particular house, but I don't think you're setting your client for success. One, you got the power pole in the front yard, and you're in that cul-de-sac, and you've got the social housing, and you've got the flooding. That should be enough for any of you guys listening to turn away and not go through with that deal. So unfortunately, no deal for me. It's a fail. Again, if you want a second set of eyes across any of these deals, please let me know. I'm happy to help you guys out and happy to review it, share it as content so everybody else can learn from, these websites, how to check that kind of stuff. But as always, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.